And, to see Elon there, it's just, this is the part that I could not have predicted, is how much of the presidency he would cede to Elon. Like, I just could not have seen that coming.
Nobody would have.
And
it's the thing is it goes against everything that we know about Donald Trump. Why would he ever cede? I still don't understand it. Why would you ever cede so much? Not control. What does Trump care about? Attention, media. Every probably American at this point who's even tangentially aware of the Trump news could tell you about Elon. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Why would you want that?
Yeah.
Why would you want your presidency to be defined by this guy with 15 kids and all this other baggage and weird shit that he does all the time?
Yeah, he's like, really tied his brand
literally
to one of the most eccentric and polarizing people in the world.
Right.
And he could actually be having Russ Vogt like out there doing Doge.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And it would not even be a headline. It would be first of all, it would be done properly. Second of all, it would be done, or at the very least, like legally, or in terms of it would be much more.
You can't even say that. He knows they break the law.
Traditional Washington process, and they can fight it out in the institute.
What I like about Saagar is the fact that he's just honest. That he's like, well, actually, my guys would have broken the law too, but they would have gotten away with it better. My guys would have broken the law better, man. When we were robbing and pillaging the American people my way, it wouldn't have been with this guy that everybody hates on the internet. It would have been quiet and covert. That's the Republican Party I know. So even when Saagar is, tearing a new one into the Republican Party, he's doing it from the perspective that they could have way more effectively conned the American people if they'd done it a different way. Like, it's absolutely crazy. And here's my stab that I'll take to answer their question at the beginning. Why on earth would Donald Trump do this? It's because, hear me out. I don't have evidence for this, right? I think that his assassination attempt had something to do with it. I think he wants to have another guy that they would take a shot at. Like, oh, I didn't do that. Elon did that. Oh, you hate Elon. I hate Elon. Elon's, blah, blah. He's got another guy. Elon has X, as his human shield. I think that DJT has Elon as the human shield. I think that he wants that guy to be the guy that takes the next bullet. I say that's a speculation for entertainment purposes only, Mr. Government Men. I'm not endorsing any of that behavior. I'm just saying, I think that maybe after that shot, the one thing that really did change was he was like, I want to have another guy that everybody in America hates more than me.
I mean, that actually is one of the most subtly brilliant aspects of the dynamic. And I'm not sure if it's intentional or not, but it is true, assassination attempts aside, it is true that because they're so fucking stupid, a lot of Trump supporters now, everything they don't like that Trump is doing, they just blame it on Elon Musk instead of Trump. And they're like, that's not Trump's fault. It's Elon's fault. So he's kind of like the scapegoat in a sense. I also think it's fair to say that, as someone in chat pointed out, Elon just bought the presidency. It's kind of that simple. Elon was Trump's biggest donor. That comes with, strings attached, right? That's how corruption works. And this is just literally the grossest example of it we've ever seen. The most obvious and, out in the open example. They're not even trying to hide it. Elon paid for this amount of power and this amount of control, and now he gets to wield it. And there's not really much Trump can do because he's owned. And all of his wealth at this point is obscene wealth based on the meme coin that, really enriched him further. That's all thanks to these guys, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, David Sachs, right? They kind of rigged that all for him.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to do it. And that's why he's doing the, backing of the, Bitcoin securities, right? Which we pointed out is such a obvious hypocrisy. All these guys all along we're like, well, we really just want Bitcoin going because we don't trust the government. We need to get rid of fiat currency. We can't have the government involved in our currency. And meanwhile, now when it's making them fuckloads of money, they're happy to have the government stabilize Bitcoin. Why? Because they don't want the bottom to fall out ever. And that was and that's the whole shebang. Now you have a private asset that is owned, and they can 1,000,000% manipulate the price increases of it, right? They now have total control of whether the price of Bitcoin falls or rises. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's truly one of the craziest aspects of this administration. But let's hear the rest of what Saagar has to say, because it is pretty funny to watch him reckon with the fact that Donald Trump, this leader that's supposed to make America great again, is totally owned, not just by anyone, but by a fucking immigrant.
Of like traditional Washington process, and they could fight it out and in the institutions and the norms. Like, And I mean, it seems to me that seems why Vivek ultimately left Doge was really over a beef on something like this. His white people tweet aside, yeah, just putting it together. I mean, that's just the most shocking part about all of this is like he is playing with fire, and I think that's a theme that I've really come away from this State of the Union. I think there was a ton of red meat. If you're MAGA, you'll love it. And of course you're going to love it. You're going to love anything the guy says. There's lots of culture war stuff and all of that. But, you know, for us, like when we look at the dangers of natural disaster, social security, economic problems, and then just, you know, chaotic nature, people feeling as if things are not in control. Those are all very, very dangerous places.
I also think that the amount of gutting of like white collar police that they've done is a risk as well, like gutting the CFPB and gutting the SEC enforcement. I mean, you've just got, it's such like outright corrupt. You guys see this?
That was the main substance of his criticism. There was another part where he brought up JD Vance. I forget exactly what he said, but something about how Trump doesn't even seem to be operating as if he gives a shit about the political future of his vice president, which is true. Right, because if it's true that JD Vance is going to be the successor that he'll run in 2028, he will have to answer for a lot of the unpopular actions that have taken place under Donald Trump with Doge and all of this cutting and austerity. There is a point where Saagar, you know, mentioned that, yeah, it doesn't even seem like Trump cares about that. It doesn't seem like Trump cares about how this is going to impact his legacy, his political future, or the political future of his appointed successor, who's JD Vance, someone who he's already mentioned that he doesn't even actually view as his successor, which was pretty funny. But either way, what do you make of all that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have that clip. We can play it for everybody who's forgotten it right here. The fact of the matter is that JD Vance is not Donald Trump's successor. I think that Donald Trump is in the back of his mind still very much thinking about running for election again in 2028. I don't think he wants anybody else to be thinking about a successor for him. And when that time comes, if it does come, Donald Trump wants to be the sole person in control of who is going to decide who's going to be president next, right? Let's listen to this because it's absolutely insane and really underscores where JD Vance sits with Donald Trump.
Do you view Vice President JD Vance as your successor, the Republican nominee in 2028?
No, but he's very capable. I mean, I don't think that I think you have a lot of very capable people.
So, no. Nope. He literally said, do you view him as your successor? Donald Trump says no. So I feel like JD Vance has been burned. I think he is going to get Mike Pence. And you're so fucking stupid if you didn't see that coming. Like if Saagar for even half a second was like, my man's going to be the next president. Like, no. What happened to the last VP? Why isn't it Mike Pence this time around? It's because his supporters cheered for that guy to be hung. And Donald Trump was like, yeah, man, it is treason. And there is a consequence for treason. And the people wanted it. They wanted it, you know, and that's going to happen to JD because the second that Elon Musk is not the person that he can scapegoat and pin all the bad shit to, he'll just have JD Vance come up in the next line and be his whipping boy and be his scapegoat.
100%. And honestly, assuming there is a primary again, assuming there is another election and that, you know, candidates actually are able to run for president that aren't just Donald Trump, I actually think that the only person in the MAGA world who could kind of be a successor to Donald Trump, who actually has enough political celebrity and a movement behind them to actually maybe be the next in line. It's not JD Vance. You know who I think it is RFK Jr. He's the only one I actually see people like getting excited about in the MAGA base. You know, he actually does have his like own kind of unique independent base outside of Trump with the Maha stuff. He already ran for president, obviously last time around and you know, was able to amass a decent formidable movement behind him, enough to probably sway the election for Trump with that endorsement. So I actually think that if anyone was going to replace Trump and actually have another similar movement behind them, it would be RFK, not JD Vance, which has to be pretty depressing if you're Vance.